Hey people, I got y'all some gold. In that last movie, Sphinx at the Tower, I read this line 5 of the Tower of Babel in the Greek, and I told you I was going to read this in the Hebrew. It's really going to leave you dumbfounded without putting it in perspective. But I'm going to start here with this word. You know, it reads backwards and forwards. This mark's telling me, so it's R-I-O, the same as the Kurios. They say it's the city, but it's to re, and you see the mark underneath here, and it's telling you this reads separate. And I usually do anytime I see a diphthong. It's usually read as a diphthong. Sometimes it blends in with the word, but it's to re-odal. O-E is odal, and it's to re-odal hour. O-I-R is the hour. And so this odal, you know, it looks like this. Sometimes they crush the O and the E together. So you can see the O in there sometime. And it's just like the diphthong ash, which is the A-E, and I read it as a E-S. This is the diphthong odal, and I replace it with a odal, O-D-A-L, or O-D-E-L. And it comes from this ancient ruin, Odal, and they're trying to ban it, saying it has to do with Nazism in Germany, and that's what they do into all our symbols now, because they just don't want people to know. And there's an apparent but debated etymological connection of Odal, whether it means nobility or a noble family line. But it actually just means lineage, or the heir, you know, the one that's getting passed down to, whether you're noble or whether you're just poor, you know, whatever little bit you got. I heir my pocket watch, you know, to my son. And let me hit this while I'm here so I don't have to go back. You know, this is odal. This is the letter D, but it's also the letter TH you see in a lot of words. And so the D is a double letter, and sometimes it's D, and sometimes it's a TH. And so it's to re-odal, to re-air, O-I-R, the hour. What legum, image, E-M-M-G, the image of toolers. You know, the D is a double letter, and it's double as the TH. That dot lets you know. Sometimes it's a double D, and sometimes it's a TH. The U is this mark here, and the L, T-H-U-L-R-S. So Thule is the farthest north location mentioned in ancient Greek and Roman literature and cartography. Modern interpretations included Orkney, Shetland, or northern Scotland. And these are the people who went down to Egypt during the last ice age. It froze first. They're the first ones to get there. But the key word to understand this comes in the lines before. And it's in both these lines here, and they said, and both 3 and 4 start with this, and they said. And this is the first time this word comes up. It looks like, you know, and yammer too. But you see, this is the first time it comes up in Genesis 11:3 and 11:4. And they said, you know, they said, you know, they. So it's not he said, but this is all the list of words. You know, the base word is amr, A-M-R. This is all the list of words for and he said. You know, it's 100 words there. But this is actually the word for hearsay. It starts with this W-Y, meaning how or who, and then the dot, so you give it another, the yammer, and then 2. And then these marks up here, they're telling you to go back and read this again twice. And so what it says is who yammer to who yammer, and said to who said that he said, and he said she said that she said is what it's saying. Not they said, but hearsay. I heard it from somebody that heard it from somebody. So to put all this in a better context, I'm going to have to start here at the first line of this Tower of Babel, because what's written here is exact opposite of what we've been told it says. So it starts with how they, it's the wage, W-Y-E-J is how you get by your job, the wage. Little line telling me here to read this is why they, how they, and then call, K-E-L, and then backwards and forwards, X-R, and then this diphthong, A-E, is E-S, and how they cultures. And so this language is Teutonic, and so it's not spelt how you're used to seeing words, but it's spelt how you would hear the words. Culture, K-E-L-C-H-E-R, culture. The arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarding collectivity. Culture is to grow something, the cultivation of plants. Old French, culture, Latin, culture. And so this is telling me to read it backwards then forwards, so it's culture, cultures, and then A-R-X. The X, is the C-H, it's the X, or it's the T-S, the culture's arts. And so this is the nobility. Nobody else had any culture of the arts but the nobles. Nobody else understood how to read it. And how they cultures arch, the arch, A-R-C-H. And so the arch, is the ceiling. And if you go down to Egypt and you look up at the ceilings, what's in the arch is always pictures of the heavens. It has to do with the time. It's this parade of gods that sail across the heavens. And so the culture of the arch, the arts in the arch, is not the earth, it's the exact opposite. It's the heavens. And how they cultures arch. And then this little line here is telling me to read this SP and then turn around the other way. S and then come over here, E. And then P-E. And so it's space, S-P-S-E. Space, S-P-A-S. is the Teutonic way of writing this. There's two, the shapes to what hears, the tonic, the tone, is a continuous area or expanse which is free, available, or unoccupied. The position, in a verb, is a position of two or more items at a distance from one another, the space. And the wage, you see the W-A with the line over it, pronounced way with a J, the wage, a fixed regular payment, the part of total production that is returned to labor, the results or effect of doing something considered wrong or unwise, the wage of sin. Origin of Anglo-Norman French, Germanic. And so this wage, is how they are cause and effect. The cause and effect, the cultures, the arch, to grow the arts, in the arch, in the ceiling. The space pata, it reads backwards, start with an A. The space pata of what varies my dick. And so the space that pata, P-T-A-H, and then A-V, and there's two of them. The little dot lets you know there's two of them, so it's A-V of W-D, of wood, V-R-I-S. Final M is an S, varies. Varies my dick, my word, my dictation of my word. And so Ptah, he was the ancient creator. He was the one that created the word first. He was the creator, God, and maker of things, patron of craftsmen, especially sculptors. His high priest was the chief controller of craftsmen. The Greeks identified Ptah with Vulcan, the divine blacksmith. He's an ancient green guy, and he's the one that talked to the serpent and got the wisdom from the serpent and created all this in language and wrote it all down. So when you see this word, the earth, in the Bible, it's not. It's all the other planets. It's the earths. It's all the planets in the arch. It's in the heavens, not this one we're here on. And so this and had all the earth language one and speech one. That's not what it's saying. It's saying that he all had one when he wrote it, but being the precession of equinox is changing the astrology, that it's now it would varies, V-R-I-S, would varies, V-A-R-I-S. Final M is a S. It would varies, and it's changing from my dick, from what I dictated, D-H, dick, from what I dictated the first time. It's changing from the way I had said it. My diction, my word meanings, my dick, word, my word, shun, the meaning. All the ancient Christian writers, they all wrote about astrology because they understood what all this meant. All the stars were letters, and they came together to create the Word of God. If you could read them, you knew what the word meant. It's time to plant, it's time to harvest, it's time for the river to flood. And so all these ancient Egyptian tombs, you look up and you see all the writings of the heavens, and you look down and all the floors have been ripped up, because this was the writings of the earth, and it showed where all the heavens, the stars, were in association with what's going on in the earth. And this was all the plants and medicines that they don't want you to know. So they either cover all the floors or they rip them up. And you see that here in the Greek for this word that actually is the earth. They couldn't change because people knew. But it's G-H. And it means, G is the foot, and H is the wall, the foot wall. You have a north wall, a south wall, an east wall, and a west wall. And the foot wall is the floor, the earth, the ground. So how they cultures arts, the space Ptah of, the space of Ptah would vary. It changes my dick, my word. And then you see, the same word here, but the mark's a little different. Here it's telling you that they reads separate. And here it's telling you that it's W-I-E, and then the yod reads separate. And it all comes out the same pretty much. It's the wage to make the work is what it means, to make the work. And they say it means to come to pass, but it's still on the first day of the Bible. When it says, and God said, let there be, and there was, they change it up throughout. And so it came to pass, it's in the future. And so we could just put that, on the first day. And God said, let there be, and it came to pass, in its due time. But what this line down here is trying to tell you is, it's, to make the work, but it means Y, and it's W-Y-E. Y, a triangle of railroad track, and plumbing, a short pipe with a branch in it. And it's as in computations. And so in the ancient astrology, everything had direct paths, and it told you what to do, and it was all simple the way it was all worded. And then as times changed, it's where your word Y come from, W-H-Y. You see it here, the Y. And so, in a computation chart, it's asking you yes or no. You have choices now. It's the choices. You answer a bunch of questions. Is it taller than 6 feet? Yes. If it's yes, your answer is here. If it's no, go here. If it's no, does it weigh more than 300 pounds? Yes or no? No. Well, do you think you can whip it or outrun it? yes or no, and that's what the why means. It's yes or no computations. Because everything's not fitting in the same simple way it was written, you're having to compute everything now. And so it's why make, the yod is the make. Why make? Ben so sun in most from foods. And so why make ben is ben is in a time spent, and it's be in the cycle. In a cycle, to support, to see, so, because of, so, and then the SN, the sun, the support, the seed, the support cycles, coming from the sun in most. A MO is a motive operandus, is the purpose from. And so ben so the sun in modus operandum in its purpose from. And it's the purpose from foods. F, the U's down here. FUDS, from foods. From the east is without the U, and it's from feeds. Everything feeds from the east, and that's why feed and feeds and east and food are all the same word. They're just little dot differences. And so it's the purpose from the feeds, the planting, how, WY, how or who, how mix, how MX, how mix of, how it changes, how the mix of, info, I or B, N, FOE, information. And not just information, but the info that has been OE, has been passed down in the arts, has been passed down in the arts. Shiner, the SHNOR, the shiner. And we know that means shiner, because the fires, the cycle to see first. The fire cycle to see first, the shine, the shiner. How is in uses. The line here, tell me how to read this. The Y, there's two I's or Y's here. And it's the Y meaning how or who, and then is, and then the S has a H or E following it, who is in have you, in have to, and two U's, have to, the uses, USES, uses. Uses is vav, connected, to join. If something's joined, you just say to, bring it together, to, and then shah is to consume, and then mem is from. And if you consume from something, you're using it, to use, uses. Who sieve of uses is to have to, is who sieves, who sieve, who receives. And so when the language was written, everything fit together perfect. Everything was simple. And now, in order to put it together, you're having all these Y's, because the times have changed, and the same star that came up to let you know the Nile was fixing to flood, it isn't coming up at that time anymore. And the stars are changing, not only in their time, but they're changing in their number, because this precession's changing the tilt around of the planet. So where the stars are still in the same place, but the Earth's tilting in a different direction. When you're trying to read a star's name, it's changing. Both of these positions, its hours changing, and also its height's changing. It's changing its latitude. It's moving up and down. And so it's not saying that the Earth had one language and speech. It's saying that when Ptah wrote it, he wrote it to one language and speech. But now it's changing, it's varying, it's changing due to the precession of equinox. And the benso, the sun in the MO, the modus operandum, the purpose of, from the foods who mix of, from the foods, from the feeds who mix of, the info, the info is passed down to its son, In the arts, it's Shiner. In the arch of Shiner, the shiners, the ones that ride around in silly little cars and hats at the parade, who sieve to says, it's changing. The info's changing from what it says, from what it sieved to says, from where it's supposed to be. And then and he said, she said, and he said, and hearsay. And you're having to go to the hearsay because Mars is no more ruler here, and it's a different time. And so it's not just one why now, but now you're having to go through multiple whys to answer the questions to find the right answer. Hearsay. And so I'll start this, and in the next movie I'm going to call this part 2. I'll put it in the folder with that last one of the Greek, and this will be in part 3. I'll start here at 3.
Don't forget. I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.